All right. What do we got over here? Some sort of stream or something? Hey guys, welcome back. My name is Rodrigo. I'm joined as always by my sidekick, Smokey the Smoke Detector. Gucci, Gucci, Gucci. Um, and you're watching twitch.tv/elpikachon, unless again you're watching it on YouTube later, in which case you're watching the Lopez Family Variety channel. Oh, you like the haircut? Oh, thanks. Yeah, I pretty much buzzed it, but it grew back pretty fast. All right. I thought the first thing we could do is take a look at the new Scarlet and Violet stuff. So let's see. Let me turn up this music. Just do that for now. Let me. Where's my browser? Okay. Harvey says I may dip for a bit to watch the Pokemon Direct fresh with my partner before tuning into the stream. Okay, because I want to watch a video from the Direct. So if you don't want to have it spoiled before you watch it with your partner, you might want to jump out now because we're gonna look at this thing. It's like first on the docket. Let's see. Let's do that. Yep. See you when you get back if you get a chance. Okay. So let's have a look at this Pokemon's Scarlet and Violet trailer. So first off, right off the bat, the very first thing you see, right, is this screen that says it does not reflect actual gameplay experience. I'm not too worried about that one, because that's like camera angles and like swooping shots and stuff. That's not a big deal. But the on-screen text and voiceovers are not present in the game. Uh, is I think because there's like some of these characters are voiced in the trailer and there's no voicing in the game. I bet you that once again, Pokemon is like and you're just gonna see like down in the down at the bottom with text. So that's okay, but you know, it leads to some of the weird stuff we saw with Sword and Shield, right? With like rockers rocking out with like nothing coming out of their voices or out of their mouths, right? And that sort of thing, which makes for like a weird, awkward experience when you have somewhat realistic models of people doing these things, right? Back when they're like little sprites, you watch them like kind of do their like little rocking out animation. It didn't matter as much. Anyway, let's watch the trailer. Turn it up a little bit. Yeah, showing you some of the guys that are back. Houndoom, good times. New Wooper just dropped. Yeah, crows. Cool. Okay. I think this is the big city at the center of the world.
Please. Today we begin the treasure hunt.
So this is what I'm saying. I bet you this isn't actually voiced.
Travel across Paldea.
Also, I called it. They're motorcycles. Remember that? You guys remember me being like, these guys look like they're motorcycles. Hey, Kevin, we're watching the new trailer.
The abundant nature.
Cool. That goat from XY is back. Good times.
The rich culture.
What was that?
The rich culture.
Oh, that's a Kufant. So, Kufant and Koparaja are back. So the schools are called like Naranja and Uva, which means orange and grape.
The Pokemon.
New little dog Pokemon.
And the people. Where will you go?
Meow.
Who will you meet?
these guys.
What will you achieve?
New whale Pokemon.
With you will be your Pokemon. Journey
Starters.
together.
This is good. We see that we can walk around with Pokemon in the
Learn
overworld, right?
together. Grow together. Find something to treasure.
So that scene with the Noivern, it makes me think that they may have adopted the evolution thing from Legends Arceus, where instead of it evolving at the end of a battle, it instead you have the option of evolving it, and you get maybe you get a little scene like this, or maybe they just cobble together some stuff to make
Find
it seem that
something
way.
to treasure.
New mechanic. It's called terastalizing, which is kind of weird. Sorry for the dings. I'm trying to control the volume here. Number one most important thing that I care about, right? It's like new Pokemon are fun, new mechanics are fun. There are raids. There are going to be multiplayer raids in this game, right? It's like I think that the real success of Sword and Shield
The treasure hunt
was raids, right? It's the reason why so many people are to this day still playing Pokemon Sword and Shield. Um, so yeah, what are your thoughts on the trailer? Feel free to let me know. So, I mean, it looks good. This. Let's see if I can find the. I don't remember the names of the legendaries, but uh, the whale is called Setitan. Who you meet? I think this is where we. Yep. Not a lot of time there. So yeah, this guy is named Setitan, and then the little doe is called Fido, Fidough. So that's pretty cute. So yeah, this trailer's good. Um, I'm happy with it. I'm happy to see that there's going to be raids. They've also confirmed that on the site. That there's just going to be raids. Let's see. Horse One Mind says that abundant nature screen is one of my biggest issues with this whole trailer, but I'll have my thoughts. I'll save my thoughts till the end. Okay. I'm so stoked to see what's up with that weird card. Yeah, people are saying that that's probably the evil, like the bad team, right? There's like Team Carburetor or something. Hey Zane JW, we're talking about the Pokemon trailer. I guess I can leave this up. Um, Also in Mind says mechanics, Pokemon characters all look like they're gonna be great, but I really hated all the environmental design of Legends Arceus, and I'm really disappointed that this looks to be most of the same. I just think the world is ugly. It shows no design, it's uninspired and ugly. Everything else looks great though. I will agree with. I mean, I don't think it looks ugly, and it's fair. I'm not saying like that is totally fair for you to have that take. Absolutely. I think it looks bland. I think it definitely looks bland. When you think about like how wacky and colorful Pokemon are and you look at the rest of the world, it looks like a kind of a sample world from like an engine or something, right? It looks very generic. Yeah, it's like boop, 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 trees and grass and stuff. And you're right, there doesn't seem to be a lot of intentionality to the way that it's built. But there might be some stuff. There's like some more interesting locations, and right now we're just seeing this. Um, and again, you can see just from this, right? This is the trailer they put out. If you were upset about the trees in Sword and Shield, they haven't improved that much. They're still kind of very like CGI looking trees, right? They don't look like lush, and they don't look cartoony like in Breath of the Wild, which is a direction that they could go, right? It's like one way to make the world seem more vibrant and interesting is to just transfer everything to kind of a cel shaded look, which you can do much more easily now than you used to. But they're sticking with this look for Pokemon. It's like um, Pokemon look like toys, kind of. They still have this look, although you can see this. What is this? A Pineco has some like actual like ridging and stuff on its barbs or whatever. But yeah, they're sticking to this look with Pokemon. They're not changing it, and yeah, they kind of. It's weird because yeah, it's like all that stuff that I've seen from like Sonic. What's the name of the What's the name of the 3D Sonic game that's about to come out? It's like Sonic Explorations or whatever. That world, like the world itself, also looks very bland. Nothing about it like seems to say like this is a Sonic game. And so I can see that. Like Pokemon, like there's nothing about this world. If you didn't see the Pokemon, if you look at these trees and grass and fields and stuff, you wouldn't be able to tell this is a Pokemon game, or you wouldn't be able to tell it apart from anything else. Senjado says, hold on, has Smokey mandated you have an extreme haircut so as to not block him off the camera? Yes, it's part of his contract. I was growing my hair to be like a kid and play like straight up do, but Smokey's agent called me up and told me that I wasn't allowed to do that. Horse One Line says blend is a much better way to put it. I told my roommate that all the trees look like royalty-free assets. I will agree with that. I will agree that again, when you think about something like Breath of the Wild, like the trees look different. It's like the trees are designed a certain way, the fields are designed a certain way, the like environmental storytelling is there, right? And it doesn't seem to be the case with Pokemon. And it's partially because Pokemon is also kind of a more bland franchise, right? It's like you run around and you catch friends and then you battle them against each other, and there tends to be like kind of relatively low stakes stuff, of course, until you get to the final thing where like the bad guys want to warp reality and throw us all into 1,000 years of darkness, right? But that doesn't come across the game until the very end most of the time. So yeah, definitely looks bland. Saint Jado says it's a Pokemon casual. Apart from graphical resolution and 3D, they all look the same. Yeah, they do, and that's what they're going for. They're not trying to. This is not. This game is not an innovation in the way that Pokemon look. It is not. Um, Horsewine Mind says, I'll feel better if the Pokemon interact with the environment a little more. Like, I don't think a bird Pokemon can sit in a tree in Legends Arceus. I think you're right. Which makes me wonder why we're bothering with an open world. I think I'm also mourning the loss of roots. There are Pokemon roots that, like, sit in my memory hole. It seems like that might be a thing of the past. It's not necessarily a thing of the past. There is a. Let me see if I can find it. There is a map. Here we go. Open image, a new tab, please. Okay. Uh, okay. So there's this map, right? This map's been released. So this is the whole world of this game. And if you look over here, really anywhere, like there are pathways and there are Um, there's like checkpoint type places. It's hard to see from this one. Let me see if I can get any closer. Nope. But like there's like some little flags here, and there's some little flags like here, I think. So I think even though it's an open world and you can probably decide to go this way, like to go to the left, or to go to the right, or to go south, or to go north around this volcano thing, I'm guessing you probably can't access the volcano thing from the beginning. It looks very menacing. It's like way to build all of your major cities around this volcano, guys, or whatever it is. Um, but I think that once you get into the game, there is going to be a lot of paths, um, and you'll probably get the option of climbing up things. But some people were saying you probably don't have the ability at first to climb up things, and you basically need to teach your whatever lizard motorcycle you choose to help you clamber up. Kevin says, agreed. I like the open world stuff, but a little bit of rails are nice. Saint Jado says, I find true open world games both a blessing and a curse. I almost like being railroaded to a certain degree. It's like games need to convey what they want you to do, right? It's like if a game wants you to explore, okay, but the game needs to be advanced by that exploration, right? If I'm just like going around and going around and going around, and I go to this plateau over here and I climb all the way up on it, and there's a a powerful item for my Pokemon. It's like even that's not like that all that interesting. It's like okay, I have this powerful item for my Pokemon now. Meh. It's like does me climbing up a mountain advance the story, or does it advance sort of the narrative at least in some way? Um, so open world games very frequently you do 10,000 tasks, right? There's just like little flags all over the place, and you like get to all the flags and complete all the tiny missions, and it doesn't matter. It just does not matter. Like you could have skipped that one, and there would it would not have made a difference, right? Maybe you get a little tiny power up, you know, by doing them in bulk. Your character's probably leveling up, but there's nothing else to do, right? So I'm hoping that like I'm okay with them being like, okay, here's some paths, and then if you want to climb up something, you can. And there might be some stuff up there, but I think this is still a Pokemon game. Again, when you look at this image, you can see all of these like major cities, right? One thing that Breath of the Wild did is that instead of giving you like you know 5 or 6 big dungeons, it gives you 3 big dungeons, and then breaks up all the other ones into like 10,000 pieces scattered around the map. So I had a hope somewhere in my mind that that's what sort of like the Pokemon League would be like here. That there would just be tons of trainers that have like some sort of official uniform or something around, and you can challenge them anywhere, like as you find them, and basically you get like all badges are like the same badge, and you just get more and more and more of that badge. And the more badges you have, the more that things become open to you. But I don't think that's the case. It's just kind of like if you want to challenge the gym leader, that's fine. Do it in any order that you want, or do it as you get there. That's fine too. That seems to be how it works. Horse One Mind says that was another problem I had with Legends Arceus. I felt like every time I really got into the exploration, the plot swept in and took me back to what it wanted instead. Then it just dropped me back off in the world right when I got used to doing story stuff. The plot in Legends Arceus is very ignorable. You can spend a lot of time, like a ton of time exploring and not advance the plot. And in fact, I'm trying to remember if like yeah, I think you do need to advance the plot to go to new areas, but you can explore 100%, catch all Pokemon, finish all Pokedex entries from an area before you even can care to do something with the plot. Um, so yeah, this is kind of what it looks like. It looks cool. Um, I am not like I'm excited about it. Again, I'm happy that I like this is something that I think people online aren't freaking out enough about. There are raids. Like there are gonna be raids in this game, so this gameplay aspect that was introduced in Sword and Shield is going to continue, and that is again something important because it has extended the life of this game so much longer. Like there are so many people still playing this game because you can still do shiny raids or just regular raids. And doing raids is both easy and fun. And also, one thing that they said is that the new raids, you don't have to wait for other people. Whereas, like for a Dynamax raid, everybody had to get uh, everybody had to get their input in, and then you went to that round. Here, I'm guessing you just like put in multiple rounds worth of inputs, and then, you know, round per round, it just plays out. I don't know. I'm not sure how it's gonna go. Maybe you'll have like an ATV or something. Horsepoint Mind says, I'm super excited for the crystal forms for team building and competitive. It seems super interesting to me. Yeah, especially it's a good idea. What it appears to be is it like completely changes the Pokemon's types, right? So even if you have like it doesn't become a dual type, it just becomes like that type. So if you get that like pre-order flying Pikachu, when you terrestrialize it, it becomes a flying type, not a flying electric type. So that's interesting. I might be wrong, but that's kind of what it seems to. It seems like it's looking like, and from what I've read, that's kind of what seems to be happening. So, yeah, interesting. Some new stuff, some new toys to play with. It's like, is it as cool as Dynamax, or is it as cool as what do I want to say? Mega Evolutions. Is it as cool as Mega Evolutions? No. It doesn't look as cool as Mega Evolutions, but also Mega Evolutions are limited in which Pokemon can do them, and also Mega Evolutions were kind of a big mess. This seems like a milder thing, but one that could potentially add some interest to a competitive game, right? If you if you gemify your Pokemon and their type changes significantly, then whatever the opponent like input into their attack is going to maybe bounce off or whatever. It's kind of like an additional dimension of things to do. Unlike Dynamax, which um, just gives the Pokemon more hit points and changes out its attacks for like the standard Dynamax attacks, right? But we'll see. We'll see how it works. Horse Online says that's how it seems to me. I assume you can only terrestrialize once per battle, so it seems like you can have an ace in the hole trick Pokemon up your sleeve. Seems a lot more comparable to Z moves. Yeah. Um, it's not like I found some information. It's not that you can only do it once per battle. Well, I think in competitive you'll probably be able to do it once per battle. But basically, you have like a little terrestrialized battery, um, and when you do it, it drains the battery. So you have to basically run around and touch more crystals to charge up the battery or go back to a Pokemon Center to charge it. So during the course of the game, you will be able to build up your uh, terrestrialized bar, let's say, and then use it uh, in at critical moments, right? But you can't use it all the time. All right. Yeah, so that's what Pokemans are up to. Um, let's see here. And we can keep talking about Pokemon. That's fine. I'm just going to start moving on to the next thing that I had here. Up. Actually, very important. Pavlov is up and he has been feeling bad, so I need to go check on him, okay? So I'll be right back. Check, check, check. All right. Let's see. Check, check, check. All right. Why is that happening? Oh, I know why it's happening. Wait. Wow, that was weird. Okay. All right. So yeah, Pavlov's been feeling bad, so had to make sure to take him out and see how he was feeling. So he's doing okay, but you know he's dragging a little. Um, Horse One Mind says I like the funny little hats the Pokemon get. Yeah, I think we only saw 5 types in the trailer. I assume there's a form for each type. Yeah, there's got to be something, right? It's like a little chandelier for fire, a fountain for water, balloons for flying. So yeah, it's interesting. Kevin says, I'm lurking and still trying to pay attention. Did we talk about the starters at all? We've talked about them before, but we can talk about them again. Um, I don't think we learned anything new from about them. Let me see. Bup, 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 bup. Yeah, so I don't think we learned anything new about them. Although there was something else that I thought was pretty cool. Yeah, everybody's saying like, yeah, I like the purple one better because it actually becomes a motorcycle, whereas like the other one just kind of like runs, like dragging his wheels. But I don't know, I like them both. Horse Mine says there are supposedly leaks floating around, but I've been avoiding those. Me too. Or I haven't gone out of my way to look at them. I just leaks are often wrong or misleading, so I didn't wanna I didn't want to mess with that. Maybe this one doesn't talk too much about the starters. Oh, you mean some of the leaks are for the potential starters? Yeah, those are. I think those are Animal Crossing characters. Yeah. So the starters, Fuecoco, Quaxley, and Sprigatito are, we haven't seen. I think in the trailer we actually see Sprigatito uh, terrastalize. Maybe not. Maybe it's just that Persian. Oh yeah, flowers for grass and diamonds for normal. So yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be kind of fun. It's like yeah, that Dragonair becomes becomes a frying type, becomes a fire type. So that's interesting. But yeah, these are the starters. They're pretty cute. I'm leaning very strongly towards Fuecoco. I don't like the other two are fine, but I think I'm gonna go with this one. Does Fido evolve into Thoroughbred? That would be good. That would be a good. That would be a good name for it. Like I hope so. Good work, Malone Haskell. Or no, that was Dolly Nathan. Sorry. Malone Haskell says, "Hi guys, I finally managed to catch one of Rodrigo's streams live. Yeah, let's go." Um, Horse One Mind says, "I think the gym leaders look really fun. Yeah, I think so too. Um, yeah, it's good times. So yeah, I've been avoiding leaks, so all the stuff about like potentially what their middle evolutions or final evolutions look like, we don't know yet. They haven't released anything official. But Um, but yeah. Okay. Let me see. Uh, that. So the other thing I wanted to talk about is I want to say Skippy the Wonder Chicken, a frequent uh, guest or frequent joiner of this stream, um, asked me to look at Koromon. If you guys don't know, Koromon is a monster catching game, um, and it's got a few interesting things about it. Like, for example, shininess also kind of equals how strong something is. So basically, each Koromon has three color variations. So that one is like, let's see. Yeah, so they can be standard, they can be potent, or they can be perfect, I think. And each one of those is like a different color palette. So, yeah, so these are the Koromon. I got two potent Koromon in my party. Um, so, Malone says it's Jarmo, by the way. This Twitch handle is just old when no one used real name online. Yeah, I mean, that's okay. I mean, I use a different handle for pretty much everything I do, so it's not a big deal. Let's see. So, what is the Koromon experience like? So, here's what happened. I downloaded Koromon. I played it, and I played through sort of like the introductory, like here's how the game is played, kind of what do I want to say, like tutorial type stuff. And then I got into actually playing the game, and I played it for about an hour, and after that hour, I was so exhausted. Like, this game is actually so much like Pokemon that it's like I wasn't like it was hard to approach this game with like fresh eyes because it's so much like Pokemon, right? And it really is like, for example, to catch a wild Pokemon or a wild Koromon, you need to beat them within an inch of their life and then throw a spinner at them, right? And it's like, okay, that's identical to Pokemon. There are fewer types, and the types maybe make a little bit more sense. Um, but yeah, so much about it is so similar to Pokemon. You have four abilities. Uh, if you have, if you learn a fifth ability, you can switch between them freely. It's not kind of a pain in the butt like it can be in Pokemon. So there's a few sort of quality of life things, but there's a lot that aren't. Like here's an example. Well, I didn't mean to go here, but if you want to switch Koromon, you you go to the Koromon Center and you go to the PC, right? It's like identical so far. And then you have the option to withdraw Koromon or deposit Koromon. And I'm like, I am not playing a Pokemon clone that dials me back to the days where, like, withdraw and deposit had to be two separate actions. Like if you withdraw, like if you deposit a Koromon, you select it and then you leave, and then to fill that gap, you have to withdraw a Koromon. Unless maybe withdraw just switches it in. I guess that's a possibility. Let me see. I could be wrong. Oh no, okay, so it does have a swap. Okay, it does have a swap option. All right. I was like just because it gives you like the options of withdraw and deposit, I'm like, there is no way that we are dialing it back that far. Um, the pixel art looks really good. The critters look really good. Um, and the world looks pretty good. But yeah, man, it's just like if you're gonna make a monster catching game, obviously you have to keep Pokemon in mind, right? Definitely, absolutely. But I was hoping when I started playing this game that it would be either a step forward, right? So it would take a lot of the things that are not great about Pokemon, or that are kind of annoying, or what I want to say, um, or like awkward, and change those, right? Or I was hoping that it would be a lateral step and that it actually just changed so many things that even though it's still a monster catching game, that enough things would be different to make it a different experience. But it's really not. It really feels like somebody said, "Hey, you know what? You know what I want to do? I want to make my own Pokemon game, and in the process, I'm gonna like smooth out some edges, and I'm gonna add some new stuff, and I'm gonna make things like slightly different, right?" Um, it's like there's a lot of quality in this game. The graphics are good. The music's good. Um, the Pokemon design is good. This little guy that I'm fighting right now, notwithstanding, like a lot of them actually look really good and very complex. Um, yeah, I mean, right down to like if you want to level a Pokemon or a Koromon, you throw out that Koromon first, and then you swap them out, and then they both get XP, right? It's like none of these things are actually intrinsic to the genre. These are all things that Pokemon does because Pokemon does them, right? So yeah, let's see. St. Jadilus is old school style, yeah. Strong Zelda vibes with some Dragon Quest sprinkled in is what I get out of this style. Yet, sure. W. Nathan says legally distinct enough to avoid the lawyeron. Yeah, but again, it's like there are so many things in this game, right? It's like healing items, and it's like okay, lots of games do healing items. The spinners are basically the Pokeballs, and there's like Pokemon, like there's spinners that are better at catching certain types, spinners that are better at catching under different circumstances. Koromon can hold things like fruit, right? So um, they can eat fruit that they're holding in between, like during a battle, if something happens. Eh, Again, it's like maybe like each individual one of these concepts is not bad on its own. And it's okay to hold certain things from Pokemon, but I think this game just holds too many. Like playing it, like uh, like trying to play through, like walking through a forest and like getting beat up by Koromon. I'm like I'm like this game. It's like this game wants me to grind as well, right? It's like which means like I, the play pattern hasn't been refined in any way. Like if you still have to grind, and not only that, but it's like not only has it not been refined, but I think there was no attempt to refine it in any way, right? because there are you can select different difficulties, and so let me see. Um, nope. Boop, boop, boop. Trainers looking for a challenge may consider using a difficulty other than normal difficulty. So easy. Coromon will fully restore their HP when they level up. No more backtracking, right? So backtracking is like a fundamental part of this game, right? So backtracking is something that they're like, hey, do you hate backtracking? Move it to easy mode, and it's like, why? Why is that part of easy mode, right? One of your Coromon faints, you don't need to use a special revive item. Instead, you can feed it any healing cake, right? So it's like, right? Like Pokemon does this. This is exactly what Pokemon does. Pokemon confuses inconvenience with difficulty, right? Those are two different things. Like you can play a very easy and very inconvenient game, or you can play a game that is both hard and convenient, right? So I don't know what are good examples of both, but this game, for example, is like a medium difficulty game that is very inconvenient, and then basically hard and insane, which is probably we should do away with things that reference mental health to describe things like this, but um, it's like yeah, basically hard. It just turns it into a Nuzlocke, and I think this difficulty. Yep, I don't know. There's also a thing where you can randomize it. You can basically like one thing this game has is again it has the like that Nuzlocke difficulty, and it has that like it has a built-in randomizer. So it's like, hey, you know all that fun stuff that people do online? This game just allows you to do it. You don't have to hack it. You don't have to like pretend like your Pokemon died. We'll just let your Pokemon die. You can set it up so that that happens. And I'm like, I think that's what this game is going for. This game, like when they were making this game, they said, you know what would be great is if we made a game that was like Pokemon, that was basically Pokemon, but had all of this stuff that people like to do already built in. And in order to do that, the game has to be very much like Pokemon, because if they change too many things, then people aren't going to be attracted to that, right? It's like there is a segment of the population that if you tell them, hey, there's a Pokemon like game out there that already has the Nuzlocke rules built in. So you can just do a Nuzlocke and it'll do it for you, right? And it won't allow you to catch extra Pokemon. It won't allow you to retain your Pokemon if they faint. It just lets you do that, right? It's like I think people are gonna be interested in that. Here, let me show you guys. I'll throw a spinner at it so you see the spinners. I already have one of these guys, but so yeah, I mean, again, I was hoping for either a step forward or a big lateral step where it was like different, right? But it's really not. And the worst part about it is that Pokemon has kind of moved on from this. Like, I don't mean necessarily this art, because the art looks really good. Um, I mean, Pokemon has moved on from 2D sprites and from like puzzles that involve like pushing things and stuff. I mean, maybe it hasn't, but I get to like. I'm just gonna crank its special attack because all the things it's learning are special. Oh, that's another one. If you look at the stats, you got HP, attack, special attack, SP, speed, defense and special defense. You have special attack and special defense. Why? Why? Right? It's like this is just Pokemon. Like, why do you need special attack and special defense? Pokemon needs special attack and special defense because that's kind of the way the game was built, and they split those because they needed them. But like, why not have three separate defenses, right? Like, D&D doesn't have special attack and special defense, right? It has like attack, defense, and like a bunch of different saves that cover different things, right? Like special attack and special defense don't need to be a thing, right? Or attack, defense, special defense, that split doesn't need to be a thing. But this game makes it a thing because it's very faithfully being a Pokemon game. Like, it's doing things so that it doesn't get sued. Um, but it's kind of the bare minimum. Like, I don't know. I don't know how long I'm going to keep playing this game. Probably not very long. But I just kind of wanted to talk about it because I'm like, man, it's like putting the effort to making a Pokemon game, like a monster catching game like this, is is a big deal. You know, this is an independent game, right? I don't know how many people are working on this, but it's not as many as Pokemon has working for them, right? So, um, it's just kind of a shame. It's kind of a shame that this isn't more its own game. Like, it could be doing its own things and still be a monster catching game that's reminiscent of Pokemon, but it could be doing so many things that are different, and it just chooses not to because it wants to be like Pokemon. Let's see. Let me see if I've missed anything in the chat. Malone says, "Yeah, I can see how it's close enough to draw a direct comparison, and it's hard enough, and it's a hard thing to sell when your direct inspiration is so established." Yeah. W. Nathan says, "Gotta run for dinner. Have fun with all your Pokemons, everybody." Yeah, thank you. Malone says, "Yes, this kind of a thing is from the SNES era game design. It probably has a niche of certain kinds of players, but that's sure to turn off others." Yeah, and it doesn't do anything for me. Horsepoint Mind says, "Yeah, this kind of just seems like one of those Pokemon fan games that you see around." Exactly, exactly. What is SP? Okay, SP is one of the things that is different. Your instead of um, instead of each individual move having PP or power points, SP is like your magic bar, right? So Scratch. So for this Coromon, Scratch costs 2, Hypno Wave costs 4, Drain costs 3, and it drains your bar, and your bar stays drained until your Coromon either rests or literally rests during a fight. One thing that you can always do is just have your Pokemon like fall asleep. Hang on, let me see if this. It's telling me that it shouldn't fall asleep, but you can actually make your Pokemon fall asleep and recover some hit points, or your Coromon recover some hit points and some SP. And I'm like, that's fun. That's a cool, interesting thing. I wonder if there's Coromon that play with that sleep mechanic. I hope so. Malone says difficulty was also the level of inconvenience until kind of recently, and it's kind of stuck for some. Yeah, again, it's like I feel like this game did not look outside of Pokemon for inspiration and ideas. Like, it's just like, okay, what does Pokemon do? Is like, can we change it? It's like, yeah, we can change some stuff, but it's still changed within the framework of Pokemon, right? So, yeah, I don't know. I don't mean to like sit here and just bash this like perfectly good indie game, right? Um, but I was just, and maybe that's just what happens when you go in with expectations. It's like I was hoping for something different, and what I got was very much the same thing. Horse One Man says Nintendo is litigious enough. This might be borderline. Honestly, it seems so similar. Yeah, definitely. That's another thing, right? If you're gonna risk that lawsuit, wouldn't you want to make something more different? I don't know. Maybe I'm just like projecting, right? Is like if I was going to make a Pokemon game, I wouldn't do it like this. Um, I'm just gonna run. I don't have a Pokemon that beats water that's high enough level to easily beat that guy. And like that's what I've been doing on this beach. I've just been grinding. You know, I'm like because you need to. Like I barely like I crawled my way through like the very first area of the game, like the very first like open field, like train like there's trainers around and when they see you they like challenge you to a thing. Yes, exactly like Pokemon. Um, so it took me it took me a while to get out of that first area because I was trying not to grind, but the Pokemon were just too high level. Or it's just like you just get battle after battle after battle, and my Pokemon were not high enough level to really withstand it. So I had to grind, and now I'm here and I'm grinding again because I don't know how big the incoming Pokemon are gonna be or Koromon. So yeah, that's just kind of what I ended up doing. Let's see. So yeah, did not have a great experience with Koromon. I mean, I feel like what I've been saying this whole time, somebody might be listening to it and be like, uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh. That sounds great. I like this sounds fantastic. I'm so excited to play this slightly like very slightly different retro Pokemon type game. And you know what? If that's you, then great. Like I'm not even like I don't mean to bash it. I'm just like because it's so similar, it's like why wouldn't I just like replay, you know, Pokemon Black White or like Black White 2 or whatever, whatever the closest is to this version. I'm like, this game doesn't give me enough reasons to want to play it, right? If you look like an extreme example, right? People very often compare Pokemon and Digimon, right? But Digimon games are very different. They're not anything like Pokemon games. And you might not like it, and you might think like, "Oh, I like Pokemon games better," but really they're not really comparable. They're like two very different things that just happen to have a very like a similar cast of critters, right? Is like that's an extreme example of being very different from Pokemon. And I don't know, maybe I should like look into Temtem. I don't know if you guys have looked into Temtem, but I think that one's at least a little bit different. And it's like I also don't need everything to be different. I'm like, oh, why are there trainers? I'm like, there can be enemy trainers, that's fine. And I'm like, oh, why do you have to beat up a Pokemon to 1 HP before you catch it more easily? And it's like that can be in too, but the problem is that everything is in, right? Every last thing that's a thing in Pokemon is in here. It's like think of a concept from Pokemon. It's probably in here, like different types of balls. It's in here. Um, Stores that you go in and buy, like healing items. That's in here. Pokemon centers. That's in here. Um, like giving nicknames to your Pokemon. That's in here, right? It's like I would want that to be in here because naming your monsters is fun. But again, everything is in here, right? Learning like tutoring moves. Like one thing that is kind of fun is that very early on you gain the ability to improve your Pokemon's potential. That's that like normal, special. No, it's like I forget what they actually are. Um, but that also changes the color of your Pokemon. So you can, it's like you can take a Pokemon that you already have and make it shiny. So that's fun. Like there's stuff like that in this game. Like there are some things that are different, but they're so peripheral to the experience. You know, I don't know. I haven't played it very much. I haven't even had any of my Koromon evolve, but they evolve by gaining XP as well. So I don't know. Maybe in the evolution system there's something different, but I don't think there is. Let's see. Um, Horse Online says I super dig this battle environment though. Big fan. Seems like what could have been if X and Y weren't 3D. Yeah, totally. I will say when Pokemon went 3D, their general art design took a big dip, right? It's like because you were like now doing things in a way that they hadn't practiced forever. This game goes to that. What was the final um, pixel Pokemon game? Black 2, White 2. So it goes back to that Black 2, White 2, like multiple planes of pixel art that move independently. So it looks like the Pokemon is like breathing or like ready to attack or whatever. Yeah, that's very good. Like visually, there's kind of nothing wrong with this game. Like that's not a problem, right? Visuals, the music, it's all fine. Sound effects are fine. That's not a problem, right? Um, Malone says it shows how difficult it is actual design something that's its own thing. It shows how good Pokemon actually is. There should be some outside the box thinking and experience of a wide variety of game systems. Things are rarely as straightforward in game development. Yeah, and that's what I think. Like I just, it's like if you have ever played like D&D, um, very often you will run into game masters that have never read non D&D stuff, right? Either they never played another game and also even though they might watch TV and read books, they don't ever like think to incorporate that. So it's only like, oh, I'm going to throw this curveball at my players. This troll is going to be weak to ice, right? Or to like cold damage. And I'm like, well, that's not really a twist, right? It's like that's kind of the stuff that you get into when your only experience is one game or your only experience is like messing with one game. Um, and I feel that's what Koromon is doing. Koromon is only looking at Pokemon and making changes that would make sense within the world of Pokemon, but it's not looking at Zelda. It's not looking at Super Mario. It's not looking at Assassin's Creed. It's not looking at all of these other games that maybe would give you inspiration to do something else. Malone says it might be a situation they absolutely needed to release it and hope to get enough success to further refine it. Even big studios resort to that now. It's called early access. Yeah, maybe. Rodimus says, which Pokemon game is that? We're talking about Koromon, which is a Pokemon-like game. So it's not actually a Pokemon game. It's just trying to do the Pokemon thing on its own. So that's kind of what we're talking about. Uh, yeah. Lightning says, well, well, well. El Pikachu himself. Yep, that's me. Horse 19 says, Rodrigo started talking about D&D hegemony and it summoned Lagnus. Yep. That's right. Yeah, we're just talking about Koromon and how, like, it's not different enough from Pokemon for my taste. Like, it's just so similar. And I started playing it, and it's like I had this weird experience, and it's like when you play a game a lot, and I've played Pokemon a lot, you enjoy it, but you also kind of get tired of it, right? And it's like when you get a new game, it's like you're fresh. You're not tired of that game yet. So you start playing it and then you enjoy it but also get tired, right? When I started playing Koromon, like my tiredness level went back to like my early Pokemon tiredness level, right? Like I don't want to replay Fire Fire Red and Leaf Green, right? I don't want to replay Black and White. I already played those games. I want to move on. And going and like putting Koromon in, I was like, ugh, I feel so old and tired. Why is this game like this? Why do I have to like hold down a button to run? You know, like why? So, I mean, it just yeah, it was it was kind of an experience and not an altogether pleasant experience, unfortunately. Um, oh, Lagnus with quote 13, of course. Can't go wrong with that. So yeah, that's been my experience with Koromon. Um, what else? What else do we want to talk about? I can, or we can talk about Lancer, right? So, a month ago, or maybe just a few weeks ago. Oops, I didn't mean to close that out and leave that big gap right there. Um, the Karakin Trade Baronies um, expansion came out for Lancer. Oh, is this not showing? There we go. So that had a couple of new mechs, and then two alternate frames. Yeah, two alternate frames. So the new mechs in it are the White Witch, which looks pretty rad, and basically like the Black Witch. So the Black Witch has a lot of like ferrofluid type stuff. Like basically the Black Witch is all about magnetism. It's a very cool mech. Like it's like its abilities, it's like it has resistance to kinetic damage because it just has like this magnetic field around it. So if you shoot it with bullets, it like stops it. Um, but yeah, the black, so the White Witch came out, and it also uses like magnetic fluid, but it uses to like a ludicrous extent. Basically, what the every time the White Witch takes damage, it gets a point of armor, right? So every time it takes damage, it gets 1 point of armor reduction. So it wants to take damage. It's like a defender mech. So it can force enemies to deal damage to it. It can basically throw ferrofluid onto like allies to soak up damage, and then you kind of take it instead because you're giving up part of your mech. Um, and it's like yeah. So one of the things that it can do is it can turn up its like ferrofluid generation to 11, and basically do that, but do it much faster and harder. And it gets to the point where it needs to like drain resources from around it. So like rocks and the ground and stuff starts like cratering as it just like turns it into like ferrous metal so it can keep doing this. And basically, once it gets enough, it like blows up. Um, I mean, it's fine. Just like the ferrofluid blows up and it kind of goes back to one, right? The other original mech um, from the KTB book is the Emperor. So they gave us two new Smith Shimano frames. The Emperor is all about Overshield, which is basically temporary hit points. Um, so it like that's what it does. It just kind of like gives everyone temporary hit points, and then sometimes some of its systems are like, I'll give you another. Like I'll give you temporary hit points, and as long as you have those temporary hit points, you're also like electrified, so you zap enemies and stuff. Um, and yeah, so that's cool. Um, Malone says, I agree. I actually get that all the time, especially people with only experience in modern video games. Mechanics they perceive as groundbreaking and completely new have been standard stuff in pen and paper RPGs for 30 years. Yeah. Likeness says, I will say this. So many in D&D are saying that they want to play something off the beaten path. That off the beaten path is the main line now. Give me a Drow Ranger named Fziv Moorden any day over that. Yeah, I mean, like a perfect example is the horny bard, right? It's like bards used to be dweebs, right? That's kind of how people play them. Is like bards used to be like bards were more like God, what's his name? The guy from The Witcher. You know, like the throw a coin to your Witcher or whatever guy. It's like they used to be more like that and less like super sexual, like actually charismatic people. But it's like that's what you see in real play, so that's what you see people actually playing, right? Horse Online says it's like the classic Ursula Le Guin quote about Harry Potter. Yeah. Um, Malone says, I already like this game. Horseman says, Overshield goes in a different bucket. That's right. Overshield does go in a different bucket. That's exactly right. Good. I make up these little like songs and rhymes and mnemonics so people remember them. So good. I'm glad that like 3 full years after the Void Saga or wherever we're at, people are still remember that temporary hit points go in a different bucket. That was exactly what I wanted. Um, what else? Oh, the KTB also has alternate frames. So they have an alternate frame for the Black Witch, right? So this is the standard Black Witch, and this is the Orcus frame. So basically, you can have it do that instead, and it comes with a shield, and you can use that shield to like Captain America people and just like throw it, and like it returns to you because the mech is still like all about magnetism. So yeah, I think like people were like, "Hey, can I play a mech that throws their shield?" It's like Captain America is back in the zeitgeist, right? Because of the MCU. So people are like, "Can I play Captain America?" And people are like, "No, there really isn't like a shield that you can throw in Lancer. You can flavor it as such, but it's not actually a shield." So eventually they made a mech that has a shield that you can throw, and that comes back to you. And then the other alternate frame is the Minotaur. So this is kind of what the Minotaur normally looks like. It's creepy. It's a Horus mech, so it's like weird and creepy. And so the other one is the Calendula frame. So it looks more like this. Still has hoofies though, so that's cool. And basically the big thing that the Calendula does is it creates void husks. So when you hit someone with its slowing down powers or with its tech attacks, it creates a husk close to them, and that husk has like a slowing aura around it. So you can like, every turn if you're throwing these things out, you can have a lot of husks, and then it has some other abilities that sort of key off of the husks. So if you wanted that sort of like it's like a game. It's like a play style. It's like a cluttering play style. If you like that cluttering play style where you like start filling up the battlefield with your stuff that gives you bonuses or that like takes away from from enemies passively, right? Because that's different like than like putting out a bunch of pets or minions, right? These aren't minions. These are just like constructs that have like a flat effect that they always do. Um, do 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 do. Malone says bards became princess and David Bowie's. Yes, they did. Um, Sinjadolu says, "Are you saying bards should be barred?" Get out. No, it's fine. Um, Lagna says, "I ran the NPC witch against my group, kept on freezing them and being invisible. Yeah, witches are very difficult to deal with." Horseman Man says, "God, I gotta start really learning Lancer to run for my friends." Yes, you should. Lancer's a great game. And because of CompCon, right? This site that I'm on, because of CompCon, is so much easier to create characters. I don't know, it's also easier to run, but it's not like a full like virtual tabletop in any way. So you would still need to use Roll20 and CompCon, but that's fine. That's not a big deal. It's not like a heavy duty website. It's not going to be a big drain on your resources or anything. Um, Melon says, "Is this based on some existing thing or created from scratch?" I don't know what you mean by that. Can you specify what we're talking about? Because we keep bouncing between topics. Likeness says, "Lancer is so easy to run. Lancer is its own thing with some influences, of course." I suppose, Horseman Mind says, "I suppose I really mean I need to learn Lancer well enough to explain it to people." Yeah. Likeness says, "You can tell who has watched Japanese cartoon and not when I say describe your kill." Yeah, definitely. Malone says, "I see several influences from Evangelion to Gundam to Western comics." Yes, definitely. It's a likeness says, "Best way to explain it is to run it for them." Yeah. Oh, RL Richie. Hey, Rob and Alex. Good to see you. We're talking about Lancer, which is a mech. Here, let's just go to the frames themselves, which are the most visually interesting things. So yeah, if you there's definitely a lot of influences, right? Like there's like some really big obvious ones. Um, Definitely one of the biggest ones is if you look at the Pegasus, it definitely has that like was it like a mass-produced Ava kind of look. It's got other stuff going on, but yeah. Um, and just lots of stuff like this. So you have like different manufacturers. So IPSN frames are it's like basically depending on what your frame of reference is and what you like. So if your frame of reference is like BattleTech, you're gonna like IPSN mechs because they are big metal guys that shoot enormous bullets at each other and are mostly good at that. They are big, they're tough, and they're made of metal, right? Then if you look at the next company, Smith Shimano Corporation Corpro, these are like deluxe mechs, right? So they're like the Lamborghinis and stuff. So they're more slender, they're more specific. They're more like it's like if you look obviously like the Blackbeard looks awesome, but this drawing conveys that it's very functional, right? It's very Spartan. It's got like all these like things coming out of it. It's like giving out steam. If you compare that to the Black Witch, right, it's like a very compact, very slender machine. Um, Love the Death's Head. It's got its own like little hacker guy. That's the Duskwing. The Emperor mech is one of the new ones. Uh, Aruchi says she's a little under the weather, so we're here in the afternoon. Okay. Harvester says, "Hey y'all, I've seen the Scarlet/Violet Direct and can comfortably join." Lol. Well, we've moved past it. No, although you might want to see the VOD, but definitely give me your thoughts on it, Harvestry. Um, Richie says, "Great to see you. Thank you. I've never heard of it. I still haven't. No, it's okay. Uh, well, we have successfully derailed it already. Yeah. The rally is so good. I wouldn't be right if you didn't." Rodrigo says, "Deal with it." Um, Malone says it's like BattleTech versus Zone of Enders. Yeah. So yeah, so Smith Shimano, like these slender mechs, and Smith Shimano also starts to get into things like teleportation, like thermoptic camouflage that makes mechs invisible, and so on, right? And so yeah. And then after that, you have Horus, and Horus is a hacker collective. They whereas like these other ones are companies, and you basically buy the license to print a mech. Horus will usually just give you the license for mysterious reasons, mysterious and suspicious reasons. Horus mechs are very wacky. So the Baylor is like made of nanites, right? So it kind of has like a self heal and stuff like that. Yeah, the Calendula is that Minotaur. That's the one with the husks. The Goblin is like the hacking mech par excellence. So yeah, they're all like pretty good. The Lich is probably the weirdest mech in the game. It's a mech that like rewinds its own timeline. So if you like, you might actually have your mech destroyed multiple times per battle, but you can just like rewind it, and you might say, "Hey, like doesn't that make it impossible to kill?" It's like no, because the time rewind has stipulations. So if you mess it up, you're really screwed. Like the Lich is one of those mechs that like only experienced Lancer players should play because there are things that the game does that prevent certain things from happening. So if you like confidently blow up your mech to kill someone in the thermonuclear explosion, and then you're like, okay, I'll rewind myself, the game master might be like, actually, you didn't do it in the correct order, so your character's just dead. So that sucks. Yeah, we saw the Pegasus, Manticore, Minotaur. So then there's Harrison Armory. Harrison Armory are like uh, they are like their deal is that they built very powerful war machines with very strong reactors, so that allows them to. We'll talk about the Enkidu later. That allows them to have like mechs that have like plasma flamethrowers, right? Or mechs that have like gravity control, because again, they just have these like strong designs and reactors. Um, so yeah, all the Harrison Armory mechs also like visually, right? They're like very compact. Um, Harvester says, "Oh yeah, I can check the VOD." Okay, Hellblinder. Ah, this is Lancer. Cool. I had to go away for a bit and miss the transition. Yeah, we're talking about Lancer now. Malone says, "Ooh, the weird anime stuff with creepy living and quasi-religious themes." Yeah, that's Horus, right? If that's what you're into, then you definitely want Horus Max. Um, Harrison Armory is probably the closest thing that this game has to like an actual like mustache twirling bad guy. Harrison Armory is run by what the setting calls anthro-chauvinists, which are basically just fascists. But they let if you have the cash to buy the license, they'll let you buy their licenses, right? You can field Harrison Armory mechs against Harrison Armory if you wanted. Um, there are some variant frames, and actually, now that we just did like a Pokemon thing, um, it's funny because variant mechs actually very much feel like regional variants, right? So you have like the Genghis, which is a flamethrower mech, and then you have like the Genghis Mark One, right? So same mech, but like very different implementation. And then you have the Tokugawa, right, which is kind of this like plasma sword guy. And then you have its variant frame, the Enkidu, which again, very different implementation, right? Um, yeah, the World Killer Genghis is fun times because it's like actually the very first mech that was ever created in the game, and it was created to wipe out the only sentient space life that humans ever found. So it's horrifying. And we kind of like humans really screwed up First Contact. Actually, there's kind of two First Contacts in the lore of the game, and humans screwed it up both times, pretty much. Harrison Armory are my favorites. Of course, I'm the GM. Yeah, I mostly come at this game as a game master. And yeah, I love Harrison Armory. They're great. You can always have Harrison Armory be behind things. Lagna says, I'd like to play someday. Yeah, me too. Lagna says, in Rodrigo's game, I'll be up and coherent at 2 a.m., I promise. Oh, okay, sure. Hellbinder says, humans are terrible. Yes. Although, this game also says humans are great. Right? A big part of this game is that, that you're not going to see here because this is just the mechanics of the game. Um, a big part of the game is that humanity went through a couple of apocalypses and came out saying, hey, you know what? Like, we need to be better about this. So right now, like at the core of the universe is a government called the Union, and it's like a pretty much perfect utopian like communist paradise, right? Like everybody, like nobody needs to no like there's no money, like whatever you need or want you can just have. There's like almost no crime because everybody's needs are met. And that's not always exactly true, but the idea is that Union is always striving to do that. So once you get to like Union's core and you go out of it, there's like you find like more and more and more strife, right? And so Union goes in and they try to negotiate this stuff. Um, and they're like, hey, planet that is full of slavery and terrible things. How would you like to join the Union? All you have to do is, emancipate your slaves, and we'll like give you money so that you can like employ them properly, or just have the government pay for everybody's health care and stuff. And what happens a lot of the time is that these worlds are run by tyrants, and they're like, to let this like perfect utopia come in would be to give up power. So they're like, no, f you, right? So Union, which is very powerful, is also very moral, so they don't want to like blow up. Like they just don't drop nukes, right? They're like, okay, well, we're gonna send in troops to emancipate the people that you're oppressing. And so that's Lancer, right? Lancer is played on the ground. You know, you're a mech pilot, and you're probably trying to push or trying to help people um, get to Union's ideals, right? You're like emancipating like the oppressed, or you're taking down tyrants, or you are thwarting evil plots by super company, like gigantic super corps, or things like that. Yeah, it's Star Trek in its own way, definitely. Oh, Lagnus redeemed NPR voice. At the center of the universe is Cradle. It is the year 47,000 or something like that, plus or minus. We find ourselves listening to the strange hum of a large machine. It is a mech. The pilot knows that this may very well be his last mission. It is very dangerous. And yet, he decides to go for it anyway. This is Lancer. I don't know, I was kind of going for more of like an Ira Flato thing than just like a breathy voice. I don't know if it worked. Let's see. Hellbinder is Oli J from Discord. Oh, okay. Lagnus says, "Oh, first contact. Better erase them before they do it to us." Yeah, it definitely went very badly. Um. Oh, good, 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 good. Yeah, get in the robot, Ira. Yep. Wow, Public really has the monopoly on Disney about. Yep, yep. Ira Glass and Ira Flato. Yeah, definitely. Um. And I think there's a reason for that, but I don't know that I'm prepared to discuss it at this point. Yeah, so that's kind of what Lancer is about. It's lots of fun. I'm always very excited about it, and you know, people in this chat will tell you that they derail the conversation to Lancer a lot, but really, at any point, this stream is teetering on just becoming about Lancer at any given point, right? So that's kind of what ends up happening a lot. So yeah, maybe how much time do we have? Not that much. Um, I think at some point I'm gonna make a Lancer tier list. Like I'm just gonna be like, these are the frames that I like, and the frames that I don't like, and why. So I might do something like that in the future. I was thinking about maybe doing it today, but it requires a little bit more preparation that I was able to do this morning. Largely because, as I said before, my little dog Pavlov is sick right now, so we had to kind of focus on that. 1 second. Let's see. Um, Lagna says, I think you should be hired to record a trailer for Lancer with that voice. I don't know. I might just do it without being hired. Um, Hellbinder says, is it Hellblinder? Says, I love mechs. Someday I will try this one. Yeah. Rodrigo has a secret IRA conspiracy. Yeah. Different from a secret IRA conspiracy. Yeah. And there's actually probably two different types of secret IRA conspiracy. So pick one. Lightning says, "Oh, come on, we deserve some of the credit. You do deserve the credit. You guys work very hard to do it. But like I said, I'm I'm always just a step away from referencing Lancer and getting caught up in a whole thing." Um, oh, what are your other fave mech games? Yeah, does anybody have mech games that you like? Video games or tabletop games? What do you guys like? Um, Harvester says, "Oh no, best wishes to Mr. Pavlov. I hope he's feeling better soon." Yeah, I think he just got into something. You know, dogs get into the trash. So, I think he just ate something that he shouldn't have, and now he's got a stomach thing. Rodrigo's top 10 frames and 10 frames that are bunk. Yeah, something like that. Because I have very strong opinions. I have very strong opinions about frames. Uh, here's a, here is a taste. An IPSN, probably my favorite is the Rally. Although I like the, what else do I like? I mean, I like a lot of these. I like the Zeng for its systems, but I don't actually want to play a Zeng. I'd want to attach Zeng systems to something else. Um, my favorite SSC mech is the Swallowtail because it's so. First off, it's cute, and it makes me feel like I'm piloting a touch coma from Ghost in the Shell, and also it's very flexible. You can do lots of different things with it. Um, Horus, it's hard to tell. I actually probably like the Pegasus the best. It's like their big artillery mech. Harrison Armory. I really like the Enkidu, actually. But that's like not. It's not a typical Harrison Armory mech. Like for plot reasons, they made the Enkidu. So if I wasn't allowed to pick the Enkidu, I'd probably just be boring and pick the Sherman. It's just like a very good mech. Let's see. Uh, are there any Lancer quotes on the list? I don't remember. Let me check. Um, oh, I should probably change this. Just a chatting. Okay. Let me see. Nope, don't want that. Let me find the quotes. Uh, quotes. Um, Mana Surge. Beat comes in with a steel chair. Lagnus's favorite. I don't think we have a Lancer quote, so you guys are gonna have to. You guys are gonna have to catch me saying something barbarous about Lancer at some point. Horse 19 says, I freaking love Beam Saber. Huge fan. The 1.0 version released today. Big hype. Oh, that's cool. Harvester says, I think the last mech game I played was Custom Robo on GameCube, and that probably doesn't really count. Yeah, that sure it counts. Lightning says, Lancer is the only RPG I can think of at the moment that I think works well with the mech theme. Yeah, it's because it's very easy. Mech RPGs just make things way too complicated, and comparatively, Lancer is not a Lancer is a tactical, um, it's a tactical combat game very much, right? Like Dungeons and Dragons Fourth Edition, it is not hiding what it actually is. So it's complex. It's a complex game. It's not like an easy peasy game, but it cuts out a lot of the problems from other games. Like it just makes it so much easier. Um, Lagna says if I played, I'd play something fast that could zip about. Yeah. Yeah, that's fun. Like, what is it called? Uh, yeah, like a Nelson. It's like a Nelson can just like zoom across the battlefield, punch someone, and then use the like extra movement from punching someone to go all the way back, right? Um, Lightning says, when I run it, I like to hit systems, locks them up with witches, give them heat with flamethrowers, and then something small and nimble dash in once they're struggling with everything else. Yeah, sure. That's a good strategy. Let's see. Malone says, Super Robot Wars, Gundam versus, Front Mission, or top tier console games. Adeptus Titanicus, old Warhammer 40k tabletop game was pretty cool too. Yeah, Warhammer 40k is definitely something that people are still playing and super into. Hellblinder says, "Man, what was it? What was it? Was it Mech Warrior and Xbox like 18 years ago? Had a killer Papa Roach soundtrack, and I love stomping around wrecking that game. Oh wow." Um, I don't remember if it was like Armored Core, but it's a game that had a controller that was like basically it was like a small cockpit. Like it had like three different sections, right? There was like a front and then like two things on the side, and it had like levers and stuff, and it's like you could like actually like pilot a mech that way. Absolutely bonkers. Malone Haskell says also Metal Wolf Chaos on Xbox for bonkers parity value. Okay. Horseman says I'm sure the tier list stream will spawn some great quotes. I think you're right. Horseman says there's a ton of narrative mech RPGs, last shooting, mech tricks, armor aster, plot armor. Yeah, I've looked into plot armor before. Yeah, narrative like mechs tend to do better in narrative games because they're kind of like this fundamentally complicated thing. And again, I just think people that make mech games, like mech games that have like crunchy stats, just get so caught up in it. Like I don't know if you guys ever played Dragon Mech. I've talked about it before because it's like a big influence in the Void Saga. Um, but like Dragon Mech, like looks at your like freaking like BTUs and stuff. Like you have to generate enough energy to move the mech, and so you need certain things to be happening and stuff. Just so complicated, so complicated. Um, Malone says, I've run mecha with Fate. Works well in that genre, but obviously not in Battletech type super tactical setting. Yeah, Fate is great. Like, if you want to run a fighty genre like superheroes or mechs or, magical girls or whatever, Fate is really good. Fate is a really good system to use. Horseman Mine says, Beyond Reach, Dusk to Midnight, Mobile Frame Zero, Firebrand's Echo. Or Firebrand's, comma, Echo. Okay. Um, I don't think I've heard of most of those, actually. Horseman Ryan says, also I wrote one called Ennoble Core. Is it Ennoble Core? But I'm obviously biased. Hey, it's all good. I reference my own work all the time. Hellblinder says, most recently Anthem was a really fun and beautiful to play. Like, I haven't heard a lot of good things about Anthem. So I'm glad that some people enjoyed it. But there just wasn't anything after you finished the primary story. Okay, yeah, that's unfortunate. Malone says, oh, it was Steel Battalion. Steel Battalion, that's the one. Like, I had a friend who had it, and like I walked into his house one day and I'm like, what is that? And he just had like this like small cockpit set up in front of the TV. And he's like, oh, so I can play Steel Battalion. I never actually saw him play Steel Battalion. But I'm like, must have been a lot of fun to buy like that enormous, basically a secondary console to be able to play the game. Lagnus says, give me hexes. I demand hexes for a mech game. Yeah, I want to run Lancer with hexes. Definitely. And I've actually sat down and figured out or learned from other people some workarounds because Rule 20's hex support is not very good. But I figured out some workarounds for that. Richie says, I have also run Mecha and Fate, if Metabots count. Metabots are like reverse mechs, right? It's like mechs are like robots you get into, like Metabots is like robot friends that you like teach things to, I guess. Is that what a reverse mech would be? I don't know. Um, Armored Core is pretty cool too, made by Dark Souls Studio. Okay, they had great customization. That's cool. Yeah. Anthem was probably Hellblinder says Anthem was probably the most disappointed I've ever been with a game having pre-ordered it. Yeah. After I ordered Mass Effect Andromeda, I was like, I am never pre-ordering another game again. Um, to to varying success. Um, Horseman says, I saw someone recently say that Fate Accelerated is great for XYZ, the animated series games. Sure, yeah. Fate Accelerated is great for, again, anything that's like fighty or like adventure-y. If you want to do horror in Fate Accelerated, don't. You can't. It's pretty bad for that. But, most other things it works just fine. Roll20 is demoing isometric grids. That feels like it'd be fun to use for Lancer. Whoa, yeah. I've seen some isometric builds for Foundry, and they look incredible. Like I saw, like somebody posted some pictures to one of the Lancer servers or like one of the Lancer discords, and it was like it just looked awesome. And I'm like, wow, it would be awesome to be able to play in this. I would probably hate to run this because it just seems so like time consuming to build this environment, but yeah, it seems amazing. Um, Harvester says Metabots is also neat. I like small robots. Yeah, it's like reverse mechs, right? It's like instead of giant robots, it's like little robots. Lagna says I have managed to make it work on Roll20, complete with hex form terrain. Yeah, I've run Lancer on Roll20 too, with like decent success. Um, Richie says, that's cool way of thinking about it. It's like if Pokemon let you catch little mechas. Yeah. Sinja W says, the new Adeptus Titanicus is really good. Tabletop version anyway. Okay. I'll look into it. Horsefun Mind says, Metabots are weirdly and in extremely roundabout way responsible for my love of tabletop RPGs. Well, there's a story. Also, yeah, good for you guys to meet. Like apparently I have like there's like a significant Metabots uh, contingent among people that follow me. So there you go. Malone says, "Oh, there's a new Adeptus Titanicus 2. I kind of out of GW loop. Oh yeah, Games Workshop. Um, New models and new system. Yeah, Games Workshop I think has been like updating a lot of stuff. Uh, yeah, tell us more about Metabots. And if you could pull their arms and legs off and swap them around, yeah, I think that was the real interesting thing about Metabots is that it's not, yeah, you're not swapping in robots, swapping them in and out like Pokemon. I mean, you are, but you also like, yeah, pull parts off of one and put them into the other. So that's always what interested me about Metabots, but I never got into the show and I never got into the any of the games. Lagna says isometric view is probably best viewed on Discord. I don't see anything tempting to me while playing. People tend to get into the game and build their own visuals. It's like markers on a flip mat becomes whatever. Oh, sure, yeah. I can. Oh, maybe I can show you guys some of the. It's like me kind of. Let's see. So this is a game that I actually ran. So this is what it looks like. So this is like after they won, this was like the final state of the battlefield. Let me go back to my browser. A lot going on here, right? So I was kind of going for this like it's like all of this is like ground, right? If it's black, you can stand on it. But I was going for that like black on green like old school feel, but it might call too much attention to itself. So yeah, this is me like this is a battle, right? So these are all one I made all of these assets either these are like retrograde minis, right? Um, and then yeah, so this is like one square tall things, right? So like 10 feet tall things. They're trying to get from one end to the other. There was something that they could have done to trigger Necromech Supreme, but it didn't happen. This is the game master view, so that's why it's like faded, is because it's not in view. Okay, here's Horsepoint Mine story. So I did a lot of road trips as a kid, and at some rest stop I got a little activity book with puzzles and stuff, and I absolutely loved it. Loved it. It had a sort of meta plot running through it, so each puzzle helped you tell a story or something. I never knew anything else about metabots. I didn't even know what it was until researched it years later. But that little book stuck in my mind as the first time I ever thought, hey, what if a little book could be a game that helped me imagine a story? Yeah, that's fantastic. That's a great story. R.L. Ritchie says, "What an exciting peek behind the curtain." Yeah, I don't know. Let me see if there were other. Is this a full one? Yeah. So here's another one, right? So like the map is huge. They need to get from here to here. And what ended up happening with this one is I just didn't throw enough enemies at them, so they just killed all the enemies. They basically just hunkered down and killed all the enemies. Um, but I. Oh no, this was a transport mission. So this is a transport, right? Union Science vehicle, and this is as far as they got. And like they just again hunkered down and just like killed all the enemies. Um, yeah, little motorcycle guys trying to stop them. Oh, they also had like a squad of like foot soldiers with them. Again, I just because I didn't throw enough enemy mechs and I actually gave them like a couple things that could shoot back. Um, it Yeah, they ended up killing everything, but they actually got the witch. I think they got the witch by like collapsing like a building on top of it. Like um somebody shot something and like a bunch of debris fell on the witch, and that's how like the final hit was done. So yeah, they're trying to get the transport to this area. So keep that in mind. Throw enough enemies at your players, because otherwise they'll just kill them all and then just like leisurely walk the payload into the enemy area. One second. Got to make sure that these aren't dog instructions. Yeah, this game was fun. Um, Played it with my wife and some old friends from high school. Uh, had all these NPCs. It's good times. Let's see. That's so cute. Yeah. Hard says, "Ooh, okay, that's a neat aesthetic." Yeah, I don't know if it like I don't know if like it's like tiresome to look at. I think it would be better than if it was white, because then you'd have a lot of white map to deal with. What a lot of people do is they just do individual tiles, right? They just build everything with tiles, and I'm like, that would take forever. I also put in a key, right? So this was before I tried the numbers, right? So these guys here are a 30-foot wall, and this is all that happens. Um, these guys are rubble, right? So they provide cover and it's like difficult terrain. This is water, and then this is like a person-sized hole, so size 1/2 mechs can actually like walk through buildings. And I actually built this map before I ran the guys through it, but this was a like license level like 1 or something, so they did like you don't even have access to a level half or to a size 1/2 mech, right? Um, Likeness says I like to put in reinforcements at certain rounds and hit at it, or have the dropship leave in round X to keep the pressure on. Yeah, absolutely. I was running it by the book, except that I freaked out because I didn't want to throw too many things at them, and so I threw fewer things, right? But yeah, I was trying to run the sit rep by the book, um, but again, I was like, oh, this seems like too many bad guys, so I kind of chickened out a little bit. It turned out okay because it went long. Like this is a very long map. Like it is like 30 hexes to get, from here to there, right? And you got to deal with like difficult terrain and stuff. So, you know, it turned out okay because the fight was kind of going long. But part of the reason why the fight was going long is because the players were just sitting there shooting instead of like concentrating on moving the payload. Because there are some wacky ways to move the payload. Um, but yeah, they were mostly concentrated on killing all the enemies. So not only did I not throw enough enemies at them, but the players, without knowing that that was the case, focused on a strategy that was good against that, right? The radar color scheme is very on point. I think so. I like it a lot. I've asked the people who I've run it for, or I've showed it to other people, and I'm like, "Is this disrupting? Or like, is this disruptive? Do you like? Does it hurt your brain?" And most people are okay with it. I think because it's like fundamentally like a dark scheme. That way, it doesn't like shine too brightly in your face. Um, Rodimus says this looks fun. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Um, Breaking news: Big Chicken chickens out. Oh yeah, definitely. Oh, I made like a little hangar for them to have their mechs so that they could see them. Right, so this was the characters. Sister, who was running a flying rally with like rockets and bombs. Then Prime, who was like a very straightforward, kind of like knifey metal mark, but he also loaded up a heavy machine gun, and after hitting something with a heavy machine gun once, absolutely refused to use anything but the heavy machine gun. Right, and I'm like, but you have all these other like you have all these talents that allow you to like fly over to an enemy and like slice him up with like armor piercing damage and then like jump off and like do other stuff. And he's like, nope, heavy machine gun. And I'm like, okay, all right. Then we had a sniper named Sphinx, or codename Sphinx. That was pretty good on a like very very classic build on a Death's Head. And then we had Palisade on the Drake for defense. So it's good times. That was a pretty good group. And this is all their individual Everests. So yeah, it's fun times. Really, if you can get a group of people together to play Lancer, definitely do it. It's like probably definitely my favorite game right now. Like a game that I'm spending a lot of time thinking about. Um, of course, I'm not running a game, and so I'm like, I wish I was running Lancer, but I don't have time. Um, this makes me want to boot up Into the Breach again. Yeah, definitely. Definitely Into the Breach is like a really good mech game. Um, Legna says, my first game I was like, oh, this is too much. And then, well, will be interesting to see how it goes. And they just managed, so it became memorable. Oh, that's good. Yeah. Horse on Mine says, what's it look like with Roll20's dark mode enabled? Well, let's see. Probably not good. So this is dark mode enabled. So it doesn't change whatever you have here. It just changes the menus. This is actually the best. I wonder if they like repatched it because the first time I tried dark mode, it looked terrible. Yeah, they must have fixed dark mode because the first time I saw it and I tried it, it looked really bad. Um, Harvester says, I kind of wonder if a brighter green would pop more and benefit the grid. I go back and forth on it. Um, it like if you make it too bright, then it kind of breaks up the terrain in ways that I don't necessarily like. It's like there's a perfect balance somewhere. I just haven't found it. Harrison says I can relate to that as a GM in my 5e anthology game. My party's rogue got a flame tongue short sword as a quest reward. He picked up the gunner feat and focused entirely on using a musket. Yep, that's exactly right. That's pretty much what happened. The other thing is that in this game, one second. Like something that I really like about Lancer is that you everybody starts with the same mech and the same equipment, but that equipment is good. Like you can actually play the whole game just with that mech and that equipment and do just fine, right? It's not underpowered. It's just less specific. Um, like other mechs have things that allow you to teleport and things that allow you to fly. Actually, you can fly off the from the get go. But yeah, other mechs have other things that you can do that are, like this mech has a shield, and it's like, okay, well, that doesn't. That's good if that's what you want to play, but actually, you can get if all you want to do is run around and shoot things, or hide over there and hack things, like the Everest is just fine. Let's see. Hellblinder says, my problem, getting a group together. Yep, absolutely. Harvester says, finding a good grid, color / opacity balance is tough for sure. Yeah. Rodimus says, hey, Hellblinder, that's everyone's problem, that or scheduling. Yeah, and it's the same thing, right? Finding player scheduling, it's really tough. So yeah, so that's me just totally talking about Lancer for a while. If you missed our Pokemon discussion, you can watch the VOD. If you missed our Koromon discussion, because we talked about Koromon as well, you can find that on the VOD as well. So we talk about new... we talk about Scarlet and Violet trailer, and then we talk about Koromon, and then we talk about Lancer. So that's kind of how it went. If you're just joining us now, you can go back and watch the VOD for that stuff as well. Hellblinder says, yep, the eternal problem. Lagnus says, the internet is just a large group without a GM in my experience. That's true. Game masters can definitely, if you show up someplace and you're like, I'm the game master, here's what we're playing, it's a lot easier to attract players, but a lot of them are going to be strangers, right? Part of my problem is that I don't want to play with strangers, so I'm kind of tied to my own schedule and my friends' schedules. So there's that. Lagnus says, or Havertz says, game scheduling stress / anxiety definitely keep me from running more games. Yeah, totally. Rodimus says, lol, I have a few games that have that problem. Yeah, we've all been there. Okay, well, let's start wrapping it up. I know it wasn't a super long stream, but we're recording Critical Hit tonight, and I need to do some stuff to prepare. Where's my just chickadee chatting? Here we go. Yeah. Oh, captions are out. Give me 1 second. Reload that. Check, check, check. Not yet. No. Check, check, 1, 2, 3. There we go. Hellblinder says, same Rodrigo, I'm wholly uninterested in playing with strangers too. Yeah, that's where I'm at. Harvester says, I've also become very consciously discerning with who I invite to my games too, and I am instituting a general policy that I would much rather try a one-off game with new people before trying anything longer than like 2 sessions. Absolutely. 100%. Like people are always like, oh, I'm trying to run this like D&D game and blah blah blah, and like there's new people, and I'm trying to learn, and I'm like, yeah, run short games, run short games, run short games to see if the group is going to work, run short games to build up your own experience and confidence. Don't just launch into your magnum opus. I did that once. Um, like I ran this Star Wars game for some guys at a college near where I used to work, and I had this idea for this like epic, like galaxy spanning Star Wars game, and it just didn't go anywhere. And it's because the group was just not a good fit for what I was planning. So definitely run short games to see what the group is like, and then you can tailor a game to that group. Lagna says, I just get to know them, then I run something. Yeah, sure. Harvester says, if I do not vibe with somebody, I don't want to undo the commitment or anything of already playing with them. Yeah, it sucks to fire someone from a game. It's not fun. So yeah, definitely run a short game and just don't invite them the next time. It's fine. Harvester says, I also have abandoned the concept of the one shot and always plan 2 or 3 sessions for a short adventure. Yeah, the problem with a one shot is that it takes as much work as a short adventure, right? So once you realize that a single game's worth of fun is the same amount of work as 2 or 3 games actually, then you might as well just run 2 or 3 games, and that helps you to measure both. Again, if you're starting with a new group or including new people, it helps you gauge their scheduling issues and also their commitment, right? Because some people want to play role playing games, but they don't want to commit to anything, or they don't want to, or they're like kind of flaky. They're like, oh, I don't feel like it tonight, or like, I've got, it's like, oh, there's this show on that I want to watch or whatever. And it's like, what? Like, to me, I'm like, what? It's like, the only reason I don't show up at a role playing game is if I'm dying, right? And unfortunately, I suffer from chronic and debilitating migraines, so that sometimes I'm just dying and I don't show up for the game. But yeah, but so you get to gauge that, right? If you do want something casual where people do or don't show up or whatever, that's fine. There are groups like that, and those groups are good. They just find each other, and that's fine. Um, uh, let's see. Lagna says, in general, people also have two grand plans. Instead of running a session or two, they start a 5-year campaign that goes two sessions. Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I'm saying. Do not start with your magnum opus. Horseman Man says, at the same time, I always recommend new GMs give themselves like 2 to 3 sessions. I think planning an effective one-shot is way harder than a shot adventure. It is. Yeah. Um, Lagna says, also, pre-written stuff is good in general. So many systems offers free rules and adventures. Yeah, definitely. If you want to run something like an adventure path or something that's already down, you can find stuff, and you can find both official stuff and fan stuff to run. Harvester says, I find it a lot harder to get folks to commit to one 4 to 6 hour session than 2 to 3 hour sessions. That's another one, right? Is you have to figure out what people can do. We used to game all day when we were in college. We would have like 8 hour sessions or more, like 12-hour sessions. And I can't do that anymore. And most of the people that I play with are either I went to college with or are around that same age. None of us can do that anymore. None of it, like, even if you have nothing else to do that day, is like, we don't want to do that. It's like at 4 hours, everybody's like, eh. So that's how long the games are. It's like, and you have to be conscious of that, and that has to be okay. So yeah. Oh yeah. Um, yeah, so we'll call it good there. Thanks for coming. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for talking to me about robots and mythical monsters and critters. Um, let's see. I always find that my favorite games spring from a short session that just worked well. I've been running a game since last November that was really just meant to go for a few months, but the group hit it off. Yeah, that can happen, right? Um, Also, somebody with ADHD who has ADHD friends and loved ones, I definitely value shorter chunks. Absolutely. Yeah. You got to play what your people want to play. Um, Richie says, true story of grand improbability. Started a game in 2019. Three of the players had never done an RPG ever. 3 years later, we're on the same Fate campaign. I don't know why I thought it was a good idea to try it, but somehow it worked. And it does, right? It's like critical hit is that, right? It's like I started this game to run this game, and I was like, well, we can keep going. And everybody's like, yeah, keep going. And I'm like, okay, well, we can keep going like by a lot. And everybody's like, yeah, keep going all the way. And 10 years later, we had a full like hundreds of episodes long campaign, and that's just something that kind of materialized on the fly, right? I had to do a lot of like backfilling like lore to get things to work, but I kind of like doing that, so I was okay. Yeah, everybody have a good night. You guys just take it easy. Um, everybody, like, you know, things are tough. So just go easy on yourself. Play some robot and our monster catching games, and I will catch you guys next time.